The Cigar Nerds Podcast.
And welcome to Cigar Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, Smokin' Joe.
I'm Brad Jackson.
And here we are again for another Cobra Kai episode.
Yes. I had my reservations on the last season, and this season, I don't know, for some reason it felt renewed, refreshed. I was a lot happier this go round with Cobra Kai.
And we'll get into all of that in the main segment. But first, what are we smoking this week, Brad?
This week we have the CAO BX3, and that is Bravo Mike 3, or Bravo X-Ray 3. BM3.
Not to be confused with the MX2, which we also
and that was my problem with
enjoyed.
the cigars. I kept wanting to be like, MX3? No, not at all. It's
Isn't that like a gang? No, that's MS-13. My bad.
We'll also get into that later this season.
So yeah, it's if you are a fan of the CAO Brasilia, this is Brazil times 3, meaning it has 3 different Brazilian tobaccos.
This has your Brazilian Mata Fina, the Brazilian Arapicara, and the Brazilian, Honduran, Mexican, and Nicaraguan fillers. I gotta say, traditionally, I am not a fan of the CAO Brazilian, but
It's not bad.
I don't know
I've had it a
if-
couple times in like a sampler pack, but it's not one that I go to. I mean, I smoke a lot of CAOs, but it's not one of my that's in my regular rotation.
Yeah, I mean, this to me, I guess maybe the combination of the different Brazilian cigars, as well as having a little bit of the, Honduran, Mexican, and Nicaraguan fillers, help, sort of give me. I'm a very, very big fan of Nicaraguan cigars, so this is much more my wheelhouse. You get a sweetness and earthiness. There's a complexity,
Kind of a espresso, coffee, chocolatey, hints to it as well. And it's bold. It's got like a lot of. It's too early to say it's strong, but it's got a lot of flavor.
I mean, to me, I would put this, there on the medium range, but at the same time, this brings a lot of flavors, a lot of complexity to the table, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm preferring this right now so much more than the traditional CAO Brazilian. This to me is reminiscent of the MX2, and the MX2 I will still smoke to this day, but that's probably 6-7 years ago, the cigar that I smoked the most.
Yeah, that and the Rabid Reindeer, which was just an MX2 with extra Ligero, which I always liked. And this, we've talked about pairing cigars with drinks and stuff. This would probably be a good bourbon cigar because it's got enough flavor that it's not, the whiskey's not going to overpower it, but at the same time it's not super strong. It's not going to overpower the whiskey.
No, I think this would be a very complimentary, cigar. It's got enough boldness to where it's going to stand on its own without being dominated. At the same time, the leatherness of and a smokiness too of, depending on the type of whiskey. I've learned I am not a big rye fan. But I could definitely see that being a good pairing with this.
Yeah, I've had the rye, but yeah, I still prefer your kind of standard bourbon.
A rye for me, if you're doing, something like a Moscow Mule, maybe, but even in an old fashioned or something, I still.
Or even a rum. I much prefer the aged smoky rums versus the super sweet shit you'd put in your pina colada. Like a Ranzapak or something like that. It kind of almost has a whiskiness to it because it's a little smoky, a little oaky instead of just straight up sugar.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, it's early in this cigar, but it's far exceeded my expectations just in this first third.
And if you're gonna go down to Brazil to collect some fine tobaccos and coffee, you should probably call in the Strike Force. StrikeForceEnergy.com. My transitions are like pushing it this week. StrikeForceEnergy.com. Use your promo code Cigar Nerds for 20% off your order. Get your energy up so you can fight off evil ninjas from wherever the people Terry Silver's brought in from. And speaking of things that are bolder this time around, we're about to talk about season 5 of Cobra Kai.
No mercy.
And welcome out. It's time to bow in and start this session. Konnichiwa and whatnot.
I'm looking at your set dressing here on the table. I'm like, it's only one sword. I guess I'm getting the.
Come on, we'll do like the Chosen.
I'm getting the bow staff.
We'll do like the Chosen duel. One of us gets the sword, the other one gets the size. And I have no idea how to use those, so yeah, we're kind of equally ignorant in this fight.
But Chosen with the size, dude.
Dude, that was badass.
That was legit. I didn't even notice the size till just now. I appreciate you looking out. I'm like, I got a bow staff.
Yeah, so we are talking about season 5 of Cobra Kai. And as you alluded to in the intro, it was different than what's previous. Like last season...
Dude, I gotta say, honestly, I sort of struggled with last season. Like, I was like, it just, we keep going down the same avenues. Yeah, and this go round, like, I don't know if it's because the stakes felt so much higher, or it wasn't just a, bunch of rehashing of the same old drama. Like,
But at the same time, it was like tied up all the drama from the previous movies.
See, this felt to me more like a sequel of, Karate Kid or something. Like, I don't know. There was just a breath of fresh air. And I don't know if maybe some of the cast additions with Chosen and with... Silver's bringing in all of his, international people, like things just, I don't know, they felt different in a good way.
Yeah, it was so different this season because, I don't know, maybe last season, like I said, there was the whole thing with Silver's and bringing him in, and of course, Kreese. And they're kind of having that showdown at the All Valley tournament to decide, which dojo is going to reign supreme. And then we kind of got a little cock tease last season because at the end of season 3, we're like, cool, Johnny and Daniel are going to finally work together. And they did that for maybe one episode before their personal drama got in the way again. And then they fucking went their separate ways with their dojos. Where this season, they were finally, like, working together through most of the season.
And I think maybe that's the fresh air that also, I picked up.
The previous seasons, or especially last season, focused heavily on the kids and their drama and whatnot. Where this season, like you said, they felt like there was more at stake because... they barely touched on, like, the kids. It was mainly, like, the adults beating the shit out of each other. So this, like you said, this does feel like a sequel to Karate Kid because I felt like it focused way more on Daniel and Johnny than their students this season.
Yeah, and that was the thing is, I don't know. I get it. The drama has its place and, people love that shit. Me, I hate drama. So, but at the same time, like it wasn't just, all right, the kids are the product of the parents' environment and they're going at it because their parents can't move on. Like, this time around it was like, no, this is some straight up gangland, type shit. And I love that, the roles kind of switched this time. It wasn't just Johnny going off the deep end, like, all right, dude, grow up. Like, you're not, a fucking teenager. Like, this time it was, LaRusso more so struggling with his demons and everything. And, Johnny really coming into his own and showing some maturity that, up
Johnny,
to this,
really looked like
they
a sensei
really
this time.
rounded out
Yes.
that character. And I think a lot of that had to, do with my perception of this season.
I gotta say, since the last time we talked, I had no idea this is a local show. I had no idea that this thing is filmed
Dude,
here
it's
in Georgia.
Netflix. Everything's filmed in Atlanta with Netflix.
And because I have a buddy of mine who travels a lot for work, and he's always posting, when he goes to a different city, will look out famous movie locations and post pictures of stuff. And then he posted a picture of the original Cobra Kai dojo from the series, and he's tagged it Atlanta. I'm like, the fuck? I looked this up and oh, the entire series has been shot here. That's kind of how good their set design is, that it all looks like the original movie location of California.
You act like Black Panther was never filmed in Atlanta.
But then again, I mean, Black Panther is an original product. This is recreating something from the 80s, and even Miyagi-Do, which was Mr. Miyagi's house, that's not even that's a set they built in a parking lot somewhere here in Georgia, but it looks like the original house from California. I was kind of amazed, find out oh, fucking Cobra Kai is just located South Atlanta in a strip mall.
They said they were expanding, dude. Why aren't you surprised?
I mean, Silver's a hell of a businessman, apparently.
Yeah,
like I said, that new dojo he built was pretty legit. I mean, fucking state of the art. He even got a fucking juice bar in that place. I'm like, damn, dude. How much are your student fees? Because that's got to be
absolutely nothing.
Just smuggling cocaine out the back or something. I mean, any man with a ponytail, it's like, you smuggling that cocaine, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know. I also think, maybe the road trip to Mexico and stuff like that also, I don't know, maybe this
different scenery, kind of like last season when Daniel went to Japan, or season before last, whenever that was. It was we get a couple episodes that are something different.
Yeah, and I think this time too, it's okay, here you are, your little, Valley Karate, championship, blah blah blah, but now it's oh no, this is global. This is,
and like what you said, adding some kind of stakes to the whole thing, where it's oh, someone might actually get hurt. It's not just who's going to be the new Valley champion. It's last season ended up with Miguel I'm going to go to Mexico and find my father, Hector Salazar, and turns out he's a gangster apparently, and has no idea about him. But for that first couple episodes, you get him going down to Mexico, and you get, Robbie, who had left Cobra Kai, is now trying to reconcile with his father, but also he still has a grudge against Miguel. But yeah, when they go down, him and Johnny go on the road trip to Mexico, and the shenanigans they get into, I was that was cool. The fucking getting their car towed because the guy's trying to tell me he needs to move his car, and he's nah, man, I'm not buying anything from you. It's and then they got to compete in a hot pepper duel to win enough money to get their car out of the impound yard.
Yeah, I don't know. I love that fact. I'm when you talk about some of the pepper challenges, I'm oh, I know that's gonna kick my ass. So
and even Robbie name dropped Hot Ones. He's dude, nah, I love the show Hot Ones, man. We did our own Hot Ones challenge. I can handle this.
And the fucking sleight of hand,
yeah, does the sneaky and doesn't eat the last pepper. But yeah, the whole, you're you think it's gonna be something all right, underground fight time. Nope, pepper challenge, which probably is harder than.
I don't know, dude. Some of those folks,
But
at some point, Like, does skill go out the window and sheer, like, brute, like...
Oh, yeah, sometimes brute strength makes up for bad technique.
Like, yeah, you're going to land a lot of punches, but I can take a lot of punches, like...
Oh, and that was the fight before that, where when we first see Miguel, who thinks he's like, oh, I know, I'm from Ecuador or whatever, I know about being international, but he grew up in America most of his life. He's not world wise enough to deal with that. And he gets scammed by some Australians. Like, yeah, man, we'll give you directions, but oh, he stole your bag, so you're gonna have to buy your bag back. And then they try to pull the same trick on Johnny, and Johnny starts to kick the shit out of him, and then all of a sudden, like, Robbie comes in out of nowhere with the flying sidekick, and it's like, oh yeah, father and son in a street fight. This is some true male bonding time. I'm like, plus they're fighting Kano from Mortal Kombat. Because I was like, the first time I saw that guy, I'm like, that dude sounds familiar, and I'm like, oh no, that's that fucker from the new Mortal Kombat movie. It's Kano.
Well, luckily he didn't pull no fatalities.
Yeah.
That would have ended badly. Holy shit. So does that mean we're going to get a Karate Kid in the, Mortal Kombat universe?
Well, as we'll talk about later on, they might go to some international tournament next season. They may end up in the Kumite. I don't know. Bring in Jean-Claude Van Damme, since they're making all the 80s reference in this show.
Oh my god, I don't remember the last time I watched Bloodsport.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Kumite? Oh. But damn. And then you got Robbie with his dad, that he's, they did a good job of that reveal of, like, you first see him, he's like taking the garbage out at this like bodega or whatever, and then he's got like a wife and kid, and he's just following around like, this dude actually looks like mom kept saying this guy was dangerous and a dirtbag, and he looks like a good dude. And then happens to save the guy's kid almost getting run over, and he's, oh yeah, come stay with us, we'll cook you dinner or whatever. And he's got like he's like, this dude's like
legit family man.
Yeah, like, and then he finds out, like, oh no, I've not had kids. He's like, never got around to it, and he's like fucking calling his mom, like, fucking lied to me. He didn't know anything about me. Like, he's like a good dude, and then they have that turn where he takes him to, hey, we're gonna go out for the night, and they go to like an MMA like fight, and it's like everyone's like treating him like, oh, it's the boss is here. Let's oh shit, this guy's an actual gangster maybe, because like some guys show.
Well, I mean, I love the fact that the most tourist thing you could ever do is go to a country and buy one of the female body inspector shirts. And of course, nobody ever sees the back of the shirt, so they just. But then again, like,
I think Johnny and Robbie's like federal agents.
I have to say, if you're a federal agent with the FBI, do you have a T-shirt that legit says, "Hey, I'm with the FBI"? Like,
yes.
During a actual investigation, like.
See, in the world of Hollywood, we've been led to believe that the FBI is like fucking the Untouchables, like Elliot Ness, like some serious professionals. In reality, they're kind of dumbasses. You much rather handle shit on a local level than get like the feds involved. Especially like the last couple of years. Every time it comes out like a story, it's like, oh, the feds fucked that one up. So, yes, I could see a couple. Hey, we're the FBI. like yeah, it's
Like, I feel like if you're, especially if you're trying to do something, like, sort of off the radar, undercover, like, you wouldn't just put it out there like, hey, I'm going to show up in this all black SUV and, like.
Oh, don't you remember it was some rally or something last year, and there was like a bunch of dudes all wearing khakis and polos with printing bad. You could tell they were all carrying guns, but they all pretty much were like trying to blend into this like crowd of protesters, but they pretty much were all wearing like the undercover police officer uniform of like khaki and 511 pants and a polo shirt going, nah, fellow protesters, I'm one of you. It's like, and they're all wearing like fucking aviator sunglasses too. It's like, yeah, they failed their stealth check.
Yeah, somebody needs to go and do some operator training. Like that beard needs to be unkept and
yeah.
like looks like you've been growing that beard for about a week.
And you're all wearing the same brand of aviators. Get that at govx.com, did you?
Well, I mean, they give that nice discount for government employees. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how I can get, on that membership. I don't know how good of a discount it is, but sometimes I see what looks like could be all right pricing.
The Oakley discounts are real good.
I'm more of a Ray-Ban person.
Never owned a Ray-Ban. But yeah, that when he like sees like somebody tells him about the FBI is looking for you, and he's like going through Miguel's phone and shit, and it's like, oh, this dude is like a legit bad guy apparently. And then he like completely like freaks out, and like when they bust into the MMA gym, and we get that MMA versus karate.
I love the announcer.
Yeah, they just start announcing the fight in the not even in the ring, like in the lobby, and then he has to use the Dad, use the scorpion pepper. Special move.
Felt like that was some West Virginia ninja shit right there.
I'm gonna adapt and overcome. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
that's one of the reasons I always wanted to learn, Krav Maga is, one, I think it'd be cool, just a lot of the disarmament, shit. But at the same time, like, it's kind of you use whatever you have at your disposal to give yourself a, an advantage. Like, dirty fighting? Nah, tactical advantage.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, too, about, like, I'm a fan of MMA, I watch it, but then the guys are like, everyone needs to know jiu-jitsu and whatnot, and it's like, it's a great art, but will it help you in a... Because, all right, talking just like statistics, if you're criminally assaulted, it's rarely just one-on-one. Like, criminals tend to hunt in packs, because they don't want resistance. They want to overwhelm you with force and get compliance. And I don't want to be around on the ground grappling with a dude when he's got two buddies like they're running up to kick me in the fucking face. So while it's great for MMA and whatnot, but for like actual kind of street combat, I'm like, you kind of
at the same.
That's where the mixed martial arts come in. You can't rely too heavily on your grappling skills.
And I mean, I'll say that's my weakness is, as long as I'm on my feet, I'm gonna hold my own. But it's the ground. The things really change.
Yeah. And it's not like when you're in the gym on a mat. Like, there's fucking rocks and concrete and glass, and you're not in your comfortable, outfit. You're in, like, jeans that might be a little too skinny for you. It
sounds like you need to go to 5'11".
I do. But yeah, it's like do you remember the old Chuck Norris jeans?
Oh, yeah.
They were, like, supposed to be, like, stretchy, so you could kick in them. I just remember those in the old Century catalog.
But, I mean,
Chuck Norris brand jeans.
But that's the thing, dude. Never be afraid of the guy that, has practiced 10,000 moves once. Chuck Norris has practiced that roundhouse kick 10,000 times. That is his specialty.
The jump spinning heel kick. I remember Walker, Texas Ranger. Every fight ended up with him jump spinning heeling a guy in the face. That was the Chuck Norris finishing move. It's like even like when he got older and he brought other people in to do most of the fighting, he would still show up and like fucking spinning heel kick a guy, at least once an episode.
So I had a teacher back in high school. Little guy too, like maybe 5'2", 5'3", but that fucker, like, I legit watched him, like, just standing, and he would just jump, and, I don't know if it's like a scissor kick that he was doing or what, but ceiling tiles would be destroyed. Like, he would be 8 feet in the air. Like,
Oh yeah. Some of the kids do that. I'm like, cool, that shows off a lot of good like athleticism, but there's no time in life you're gonna need to kick 10 foot in the air.
is there not?
I was like, I'd much rather be able to break bones at like, regular rib height than like 10 foot in the air.
So
Unless
Andre the fucking Giant standing in front of you, and you're
all right. Very few times that you need to kick that high in the air. Some guy calls you an asshole from the second floor, and you need to jump up and kick him off the balcony. Then maybe. Otherwise, it's not that practical. But it looks cool as shit. And, that's what's important in life.
It's not about the execution. It's about looking good doing it. That's what gets you noticed.
That's what gets you the ladies. Speaking of ladies, Tori this is like a big like her season as well too. It's like because she was like drinking the Cobra Kai Kool-Aid, and then we saw at the end of last season she finds out that fucking Kreese is kind of like a father figure, and she finds out that that Silvers had bribed the judge to make sure she won and framed Kreese, and she's trying to like kind of secretly bring him down, but in the end she's like, oh, I can't also trust Kreese, I guess gotta like do this on my own, and finally kind of buried the hatchet with the LaRussos and everybody, and kind of went back to there's so many flips in this fucking show. It's like, how many people I'm like, all right, you started off as a good guy, then you became an asshole, then you went back to being the good guy, and you're the asshole now? No, you're a good guy again. It's like hell, fucking Hawk. How many times does Hawk switch sides in this series?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, but I do like, too, how, this season they really showed a lot of the manipulation and, the prey tactics that Cobra Kai was using, to...
Yeah, Silvers is a master manipulator. Like, even when he, like, hosting the charity event just to fuck with Daniel and ends up, like, just basically, like, talking Daniel into, like, trying to fight him in the middle of this thing and making him look bad and making his, his wife getting pissed off and, like, I'm going to my mother's house in Ohio, like, until you straighten out your karate bullshit. And then she ends up going to see, which I thought because they keep bringing back people from the original movies. Well, it turns out Daniel's girlfriend from Karate Kid 3, where we meet Silvers, is actually his wife's cousin. And she's like, oh no, that Terry Silvers guy's a piece of shit. Like, here's like all the things he did to us. Like, no wonder Daniel's like fucking traumatized by this guy. And he's like, oh, I thought this was just, more of his karate bullshit like him and Johnny. He's like, no, this guy's a legit, like, bad fucking dude. And Daniel may be like, a little obsessed with it, but he's got a fucking reason.
I love the fact too that, they're in there and she, runs into, the typical, hey, we're still in, not going to let you live those high school years because we never moved past high school.
And y'all are successful, so fuck you.
the bar brawl, and Sam coming in and doing work. Like, that was cool. I was like,
yeah, because she's all like,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm like, I want to give up karate. I want to quit dating Miguel. I need to find out who I am. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, fuck, I got to save my mom. Maybe karate's not all bad. Oh.
It's like, oh yeah, we're just going, have some... No.
And the big surprise this season, Johnny might be a father again. So he's like had this thing of like Robbie, Miguel, even like the fight at the water park. It's like Robbie was like, because he's like left Cobra Kai, but he's kind of not anything else yet. And he's trying to like stop Cobra Kai from bullying people. And Miguel's like, oh, you're fucking starting this fight. And it's like, no, dude, I was trying to break the fight. It's kind of like the Johnny Daniel, like mistaken shit that keeps like building up drama where it's like those two keep going head. And then Johnny's like, all right, I'm about to be a dad, and these two fuckers are gonna have a new brother or sister. I got to get them on the same page. And he's like, tries to do, it's fucking like watching Perryton tips on YouTube, and it's like, all right, we're gonna do an escape room, and like that home built escape room was pretty dope. I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. Based on Young Guns.
Outside the fact that he couldn't escape his own escape room that he built, that was a miscalculation.
But it's because he's like so rooted in the 80s. He's like, we're Billy the Kid's gang, and we got to break out of this prison. And he's like going through like, Dad, is this just Young Guns 2? Shut up, it's a great movie. But yes, this is Young Guns 2. And then finally, like, Daniel comes in. He's like, all like, my wife left me, and like this, like, I need your help with like silvers and shit. And he's like, well, hell, we're friends now. Maybe we should have like just kicked the shit out of each other and got this stuff out of our system long ago, instead of like the years of this drama. And he's like, Daniel-san might have it right. And he finally just brings all right, I'm tired of y'all's bullshit. Fight. Just whatever your problem y'all got, let's just hash it out. And that was he's like, there's no points, there's no timer, just fucking fight until y'all are done, got this shit out of your system. And they start beating the fuck out of me. He's like, all right, second floor is off limits. Oh shit, I may have fucked up. These guys are gonna kill each other. But how many times in school did you have somebody that was like a bully or a douchebag to you until you like stood up and like fought that motherfucker, and then after that you were like friends?
Oh yeah, I mean that was the thing, I mean, and I guess that's what's so different between the modern era and back then. Like back then, like once you were done squabbling, that was it. Like one guy was victorious, one guy wasn't, but usually unless the person was an uber asshole, you picked each other off the ground, shook hands, you're like, all right, both go to your parents with black eyes, and your parents are like, what's up? Nothing. We're here for Pop-Tarts.
I mean, I know several guys that I was friends with in high school that we started out like kicking the shit out of each other, and then it was like, all right, cool, we're past this now, we're good. But nowadays it's more like you saw with the last season with Danielson's kid and the guy that the new kid in Cobra Kai, the fucking cyberbullying and are like pranking and shit and like posting that shit on the internet to like embarrass them. Like there's no like, hey, you're an asshole, let's meet after school and settle this. It's like, no, it's very much like, oh, I'm just gonna make your online life a living hell because I ain't got no balls to like handle stuff like they use. And even if you do handle stuff, it's like, oh, y'all are going to jail, or y'all getting kicked out of school, or
yeah, I mean that's a weird thing. Like I heard like some middle school here locally, I guess, a couple of people got into it, and a teacher intervened, and now they've suspended the teacher and everything. It's like, what? Like I don't understand. Like I don't know. I'm just not cut out for whatever fucking society's trying to do these days. Like it just does not pass the common sense test.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I was a fat kid. I got bullied, but I punched a few people in the face, and I didn't get bullied anymore. But nowadays, it's like it doesn't stop there. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna like post rumors about you online and just fucking like harass. Like I think I heard someone say the other day, like, yeah, you're back in the day, y'all didn't have internet. Like I left my bullies at school, but your bully has access to my bully has access to me 24 hours a day because they live in my fucking phone. And
at the same time, I know where the block button is, and I don't know. We're older, so I guess
there's very little like that affects me anymore. Like unless it like actually
don't
physically
get
affects
up
me.
And the
I don't
social
give a
media,
fuck.
bullshit the way that I would, Fuck, I got teenage girls, so yeah.
You're still living in that drama. Mine haven't got there yet. It's coming. But yeah, it's like maybe more kids need to fucking take martial arts, learn some respect and some self-confidence and self-reliance, that stay off the fucking internet, man. Like, do some shit. If we were, internet and social media didn't come into effect until, kind of the end of our high school eras, or at least mine. So yeah, we didn't have to really deal with that bullshit. If somebody wanted to talk shit about you, they had to do it while you were there.
Yeah, but internet was so slow that,
Somebody talked shit about me. I didn't hear about it for a week later because it took that long for it to...
Well, I mean, even in our internet heyday, like,
dial up, man.
I mean, we didn't, there wasn't really social media then, We were in the fucking AOL chat rooms, okay? That's where we were.
We were trying to have cyber sex. We weren't trying to bully people. And waiting 3 hours for that one porn picture to download. Shit got fast. It's kind of like more money, more problems. Like more internet speed, more internet problems. But yeah, we got Chosen joining the cast full time this season, and I love the when he tries to go undercover in Cobra Kai, and Silver he's like makes a mistake of doing some kind of toast that if someone from the town he said he was gonna do would never have done. Drinking that was it what was the Japanese whiskey? Is it the Satori or it's some good ass Japanese whiskey? But I don't remember.
It yet. But dude, I've been wanting to try Japanese whiskey for a long time, and I've yet to try it. So one weekend, dude, we're gonna do some Japanese whiskey tasting.
Yeah, I keep hearing it's good. I've not tried any of that except for some sake here and there. But he ambushes. He shows up at Cobra Kai the next day, and all the new kind of instructor recruits. He's like, all right, whoever wants a job, you got to kick the shit out of this man. And Chosen fucks up 5 dudes. So I'm like that's what I liked about this season, because it's you almost feel bad when a bunch of kids are beating the shit out of each other, but when it's grown ass men that are all right, this feels like a legit 80s action movie. These guys are beating the hell out of each other. And then we even got the other third movie villain, Mike Barnes, who was the bully that Cobra Kai bullied to fight Daniel back then. Turns out he's cleaned his life up, runs a nice furniture store. And they nah, man, Silver's gonna call some backup. We need to go find his old allies. And then Chosen goes in there and tries to fight him. He's like, dude, no, it's cool. He's not involved in this. Oh, if he's not involved, we should probably call Doctor. Why? And he's fucking kick the shit out of all of his guys in the loading dock. But the jacket with the hidden psi holsters, I'm like, that's fucking awesome. I mean, Chosen has also found the path of honor, but he's still gangster. You remember fucking Karate Kid 2. He's still an old school gangster. So he's still got those tints. He's like, I'll fuck a motherfucker up.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed his character, and I don't know. I love the fact too, Samantha-son, Amanda-son, Rachel-son.
Even when Daniel calls his wife, he's in her phone as hubby-son. When she walks out, he's naked in the pool. He's like, I swim laps every morning. He's like, they don't wear. He's used to swimming in the ocean or whatever naked. And he's like, he's in America. Tell him to put on some fucking pants. Oh, but then Silver finds out that Barnes is giving Daniel some help, so he burns his fucking furniture store down. I'm like, yeah, the stakes of this, I expected somebody to die. I mean, it legit felt
well, I mean,
actual danger this season.
I mean, somebody did almost, I mean, Kreese got the old shank down.
The start of the final episode, and that final episode was almost a damn fight scene through the entire episode, which was awesome. But yeah, starting off with Kreese, you thinking he's finally had a change of heart and gets shanked while playing I Did It My Way.
At the same time, in my head, I was like, no, it's a ruse. And I don't know why, I defaulted to,
Well, if it had been where you saw Silver's kind of I'm going to get somebody to take care of him, it would have been believable. But since there was no kind of, oh, this is just a random stabbing in prison, it's not part of the plan, Silver's evil plan.
I could see that being, legit in the fact that, all right, obviously, you figured out who the prison boss was, and, you took down the prison boss, and now, his ego's hurt, so he's got to retaliate. But, at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, just something,
it was a disappointing end to him if that was how they were going to end him. And then you find out later on, it's like, well, maybe Riesel, or they'll end up cellmates. He's like, oh, you haven't heard what happened? You figure,
but then again,
and then it's like, haha, here's the Sons of Anarchy break out of prison story. Which again, if he'd just waited, like, fucking, they found out like he was framed, he would have probably gotten out of prison eventually. But now he's got like, all right, you were wrongfully convicted, but you just beat the shit out of a couple cops and broke out of prison, so you got brand new charges you're gonna have to deal with.
But I don't, refresh my memory, but from seasons 1 through 4, have we lost any main cast members? Like, this isn't one of those, this isn't a Game of Thrones series where they're like, oh, you love this character? They're dead.
I mean, there's been, like, I think one character that just didn't return, but they said she moved away. Like, there's not been any, like, actual... I mean, even when Miguel, like, broke his back and you thought he was going to be paralyzed, I mean, he still healed. It's like, yeah, like, there's never been any real... Because ultimately it is a show for young adults. It's not, like, legit 80s, a fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. But at the same time, they gave a good illusion this season of possible danger. I mean, hell, when Chosen fights Silvers, I'm like, oh, fuck, did he just kill Chosen? And even, like, tells, like, his goons, like, yeah, finish him. I'm like, Mortal Kombat! But that fight scene when they're, like, homeboy... And I thought when they get trapped in the limo that it was like, oh, it's going to be Silvers sent some goons to finally take care of him. And it's like, no, it's Barnes, like, thinking that they're the reason he got his shit burned down. He's like, no, it was Silvers. Like, well, let's go fuck him up. Enough of this, like, playing games. Let's, like, go, he won't be expecting all of us. And Johnny's like, I like how this guy thinks. He's like, this is a dumb plan. He goes, yeah, that's why he won't expect it. And, like, Chosen's like, fuck yeah, let's fuck him up. And they all go to fight Silvers.
I love that. Oh, should have had Short Island iced tea.
Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, and Chosen, like, fucked him up until he, like, got distracted and heard, like, Johnny or something call for, and then dude hit him with the sword, and it was like, oh shit, did he just really just kill freaking Chosen? I was like, I mean, shit has gone dark. But yeah, that fight with, because of course Barnes gets knocked out, like, right, he's the one that started this whole thing, and gets, like, immediately knocked out, and it's like Johnny versus, all these South Korean goons. And him, he holds his own for a long time. And then when they're finally like, all right, we're going to take him downstairs and kill him. And he sees the picture of the ultrasound of his future kid. And he finally gets that old man dad strength and just fucks those dudes up. And when Barnes, like, shows up and, like, takes out the last guy, he's like, I did most of this. He's like, fuck yeah, you did. I was like, that was, like, probably, like, the best fight scene of the whole series.
Oh yeah. No, that was well choreographed. I enjoyed that one very much.
Even the fight at the new Cobra Kai dojo, because the kids come up with a plan, like, hey, Silver's obsessed with, like, security. Let's go find something on his, videos that proves that he's a douchebag, and is broadcasted on their YouTube channel to show them who their sensei really is. But the Cobra Kais all show up to fight him, and that was like the big brawl. But back it up for a minute, when Chosen is teaching the Miyagi-Do Cobra Fang whatever guys, and he's teaching that lesson of, like, working together. He's like, you all must protect egg. I am the Japanese assassin here to kill your eggs. And he takes them all out, and then he's like, try again. And they're like, wait a minute, we got to work together. And he teaches them, like, the protect the egg. He's like, yeah, as I said, y'all are much stronger together. And, like, I thought that was kind of a, like I said, wasn't a whole lot of stuff with the kids, but I thought that particular episode was kind of a cool lesson for them all to learn. And even Robbie and Miguel finally becoming kind of friends and helping each other out in that final fight. And
well, I mean, you talked about it a little bit before, but even, Samantha and Tori, them finally, sort of burying the hatchet, and, like, dude, like, once, Silvers and, whatever the other chick that sort of, testing for the next champion. They figure out that, Tori heart isn't necessarily in Cobra Kai, and they're like, here, you must now punch the brick dummy. And,
Kim Don-un is, or E-U-N, however, played by Alicia Hannah Kim, who was supposed to be the daughter or granddaughter of the founder of the Way of the Fist that Cobra Kai is based on.
But yeah, watching her, fuck her hand up, trying to punch through the damn stone, I'm like, that shit was fucking intense.
Yeah.
Like, that made my hand hurt.
Yeah. I mean, I've broke some wood, but yeah, that I've not hit bricks yet, but that not even like bricks. That was like legit like fucking stone. I mean, usually people breaking bricks, it's like a cinder block, that like compressed rock. It's not like that was like just a straight up piece of like rock. It's like, yeah, that did not look fun at all. And I like when Daniel finally gets to fight Silver's like legit, and he's using kind of all the Quicksilver method like against him. He's like, I know all your tricks. Silver's tries to use the silver bullet punch, and Daniel like fucking like traps it and then punches him in the face, and fucking like finally gets his like we got like a little bit of like Daniel Johnny versus Kreese a couple seasons ago, but this is like the first time it's like Daniel-san getting to fight, get his revenge on Silver's. And hell, even because they've not announced a season 6 yet, but if we didn't get another season, they did a good job of kind of wrapping everything up and giving it like a happy ending.
Yeah,
but then also we find out Kreese just broke out of prison, and they never made it to that international tournament. So there's enough loose ends to do a season 6. But if this is the end, I felt like everybody kind of got a happy ending.
Dude, as successful as this is not the end.
Even Stingray, like he got to kick the shit out of like 5 like Cobra Kai kids. It's like, even like the fat guy that's just here because he helped Silver's steal Cobra Kai. He's like, he even got to kick the shit out of some people and be a hero because he finally like turned good and like told Daniel-san and all them what had actually happened.
Well, I think he finally got that courage.
Finally,
I mean,
the confidence or the whatever conscience finally got the better of him.
Thanks, D&D. Like, I love as he's telling the story. Like, I mean, like he can't.
He's like, I can't tell you because he will kill me, but let me show you this D&D campaign I've been writing, and kind of told the story of what actually happened to the kids using D&D as a metaphor so he wouldn't actually confess.
Now roll 20 for initiative.
Oh. I mean, even got Johnny's old car. But I do like, because we find out that Silver's big plan is he wants to take Cobra Kai worldwide. So he's convincing this international, called the Taki Sakai or something like that, tournament to try to convince them to let Cobra Kai join. And Daniel and Johnny get word of that, so they show up and like, we've combined our styles into something new, and we think we should also have a shot. And they're like, all right, let's get a tour of both of your things, and then we'll have a tournament to decide. And of course, Silver's bribes the official again, but they still end up basically tying. And he's like, y'all have both showed us something special. You're both invited to the tournament, which at that point I thought we were going to get another, like last season. Oh, this whole thing's going to be decided at the All Valley tournament. I'm like, dude, we've done that like 3 fucking times. But then no, we get that huge action sequence final episode and never even go to the tournament, which like I said, probably end up being next season. But we get that moment where they're like, all right, y'all are invited, but we need one dojo name. Like, I know y'all are combined. Like, what is he's like, and Johnny's like, we're Miyagi-Do. And then Daniel's like, but we're also Eagle Fang. And it's like, we're both. And he's like, well, you don't have to y'all need to come up with a name, but you ain't got to do it now.
Dude, I called that since season 3. It's Miyagi Fang.
I think that's what we titled the last episode of this. We did that. But I was waiting for that to like, and they're like, he's like, y'all don't y'all don't have to decide today, but we are going to need a unified dojo name
But
for
I
the
like
tournament.
how, vastly different the two, because you look at Silver's, studio, everything is all modern, state of the art, like analyzing, strikes and, force and everything
A lot
else.
of like fight science going on there.
Yes, and, then you get the complete opposite with,
Miyagi-Do's a very traditional school. They're fighting in like a garden and doing all these very low-tech techniques. And then you see Johnny's dojo, which is like dudes are like lifting bricks and punching watermelons and doing like, Rocky type training where it's just like, we're street fighting type
It's
stuff.
almost like instead of, like, all right, so you went to Planet Fitness and you've got, Buff's gym, Buffs don't have the money for all that fancy machinery and everything, but he's going to put you through the paces, like,
Yeah.
here's some fucking, big ass bricks, some heavy ass iron, get to it,
But I feel like them, like they didn't give us the name, but like you said, we've been calling that for the last couple seasons. It's got to be Miyagi Fang. But I feel like their styles are very complementary. Like because it's like Miyagi-Do is very defense oriented.
Chosen son.
Chosen Son Dojo. And then we have Johnny's very offensive minded. It's like together they're kind of like a complete style. They're kind of a mixed martial arts at that point.
Because I mean that's they are the balance. Whereas Cobra Kai is very, much like Johnny's roots and everything else. Cobra Kai is very offensive. Based.
The way of the fist and the foot.
Didn't work so well for him though.
No, Silver's finally did get his ass kicked, and like I always thought. Miyagi-Do is Okinawan karate, but the Cobra Kai people, like when the old students show up, they're Korean. It's like I didn't know Cobra Kai was based on like Korean martial arts. Like I always thought it was also Japanese martial arts. Because what I study is Hapkido, which is a Korean martial art. So it's like, didn't know this was a Cobra Kai was Korean. That's why those kicks look like Taekwondo.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, so we know Silver's, he's the playboy. He's got all the money and everything else. Does he really stay locked up? Or does he find a way to, buy influence and...
Plus, it's like... All right. Well, like he says when they break into his house, he's like, hey, y'all are committing a crime by breaking into my house, so any force used against you is justified. He has that very good way of, like, basically scamming stuff. But then it once kind of... Probably charge him with fraud for the bribing of the officials. And then, like, if the kind of stuff he did to Tori and, like, kind of the abuse that he did to the kids.
So does that get classified as, potentially child endangerment at that point? Like,
probably. But then again, like, also, like, the
furniture store being torched.
Yeah, if they can find out. Well, then also he's got the, he's the one who kicked the shit out of and framed Reese. So, like that cop says at the end of it, he's like, with Stingray's confession, that guy's lawyer is going to be busy. He's got a lot of charges. But then again, like you said, he's a rich guy who can afford expensive lawyers. So he may get off, or he may pull a crease and call in some favors, break out of prison, and fucking just disappear. Go back to Japan, hang out with his, or Korea, and hang out with his his homies. Rich people have the option of fleeing. But yeah, I don't know if, like... I figure if we get another season, it's going to all be all about that international tournament. But does Kreese show up with a new Cobra Kai faction to take Cobra Kai's place in the tournament? or is it?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if your sensei gets arrested or whatever, like,
And pretty much all his students like saw he was a dirtbag and quit. So is there a really huge Miyagi-Do, or does Kreese show back up and be like, "Hey, you former Cobra Kai guys, like, now you know I was framed. Like, let me come be my students." And do we still get a Cobra Kai Miyagi Fang, showdown in wherever this international tournament's at? Which the German guy that was the head of the tournament recruiting team or whatever, that guy was in the terminal list. He was the businessman that that they were trying to like sell the drug business to. And I was like, I've seen that guy before.
I didn't even catch on to that.
Yeah, he's that businessman that they're trying to do the deal with before Reese, kills everybody. But yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't. It kind of gave a good wrap up to Silvers if we don't see him again, and kind of goes back to the original of Kreese versus Johnny and Daniel for the next season. But I would not be surprised if he didn't somehow weasel out of this and show back up at some point. And then we get like a kind of a 4-way fight. It's like Kreese's people versus Silver's people versus Johnny and Daniel.
Yeah, I don't know, because, I mean, he tried the same, tactic with, oh, we've brought in a local, judge to be impartial, and, Silvers had already, sort of paid him, off, it seemed, like, oh, that was out of bounds, that doesn't count. It's like, what? Oh, that was, above the shoulder, that doesn't count. Like,
it's like, all right, you got to make all your hits obvious so we can't can't have any questionable techniques. Oh, and I like that whatever instructor Kim, that she would have been a good Mortal Kombat villain. Like, I could have seen her in some kind of she was just like ridiculously evil for no reason. Like, I could see her as
I
Mortal Kombat villain, or.
And I don't know. I mean, they never said if they were from the good Korea or the bad Korea. Like, you assume they were from South Korea.
I think they did say South Korea at one point. But, the show has been full of, like, 80s references, if nothing, just the soundtrack. Did you catch the Beverly Hills Cop reference? I'm pretty sure. When they're getting ready to break into Cobra Kai, fucking Robbie's like, oh, well, if it's the same alarm system that was on the old gym, like, I can beat it by doing, just this and this. And you're like, you sound like a guy that's done that before. He's like, well, karate wasn't my first hobby. And, like, to me, that was like a Beverly Hills Cop reference, because Axel was always doing some, like, shady criminal shit, like, unhooking alarm systems. They're like, how did you know this? He's like, well, I wasn't always a cop. It was, like, always his explanation of, like, how he learned to do the things he did.
Even if it wasn't intentional, that's awesome.
Oh. So what do you think we're going to get next season? Because, yeah, it could go either way.
I don't know. I honestly don't feel like we are done with Silver's arc. And I hope, in a way, like, I don't know. I mean, both LaRusso and Johnny had a chance to sort of bury the hatchet with Kreese. That, whole, hey, you give us the details on what Silvers is really doing, I'll put you in contact with my lawyer, and, that no mercy motherfucker,
just
however cool, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just like, for somebody that's so much into respect and everything else, like, respect has to go both ways. Like, you had an opportunity to You
it was
know,
kind of a dumb move. But then also at the same point, they're already dealing with Silvers. At least with Kreese in prison, he's off the chessboard. So they only have to deal with one problem. And if he was out of prison, eventually he would have become another problem. It's like, let's just deal with one at a time instead of having to deal with both these assholes.
But, you know, I think it would have kind of been a cool arc, you know, to see Kreese as, fuck it, I'm in here, I'm going to make the most of it, so, you know, I'm the fucking boss of the block now. Like, you know.
He's the Ron Perlman.
And, dude, he felt so much like Ron Perlman. Like, but you know, I'm almost wondering with the influence that Silver has and everything else, if somehow his influence isn't already, you know, at play.
Yeah, it's already shown that he can,
you know,
like, buy people.
International stuff.
Does he
you know,
not
because
buy,
it
like,
seemed
a
like
judge
that
or something
one
and get out?
Judge that was, you know, sort of there to be the translator, seemed like he was already in Silver's pocket.
Would not surprise me. I mean, he's already shown he can bribe, you know, officials. Like, how easy he's going to be like, oh, he bribe some corrupt judge or something to end up getting off of this, and I got to deal with him again next season. Is there anything we've not covered that you're like, man, that was fucking cool? Like I said, I love the Chosen stuff. Well, here's one thing I hope we don't get next season is season 3. We had that ending with, like, Johnny and Daniel are finally cool and working together, and they immediately broke that up at the start of season 4.
Yes.
I'm done with the Daniel Johnny drama. I want to see them finally working together, and it looks like now they've finally on the same page.
I don't know, you know, I mean, I almost expect there to be more of a passing of the torch, you know? I mean, Johnny's about to have a fucking newborn. Like, where's he going to find the time to be sensei and everything else? Like, you know, like, I mean...
And Miguel and Robbie have kind of...
buried their hatchet.
And Sam have kind of stepped up and, like, maybe they start, you know, becoming instructors themselves, you know, like, you know, learning to teach and whatnot. But yeah, it's like, I just really hope we don't get another, like, oh, it's Johnny and Daniel's having drama again. Like, no, I like how they kind of wrap that up and they all look to be good friends by the end of it. You know, if there's going to be some threat, let it be an external threat that they have to deal with, not more continued infighting amongst the group.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, I mean, I think even with the, because I mean, I don't know, for me, the manipulation of, I don't know, this is going to be a horrible reference, but, you know, I kept thinking back to American History X and how, you know, manipulated Danny was and everything else in the film, and I saw Silvers very much doing that same thing to, you know, the young kid that's like, oh, you don't need to be a follower. You need to be a leader. You need to...
Yeah, Kenny. Kenny started off as the bullied kid and got into Cobra Kai and then became the bully himself. And, you know, went head to head with Robbie when Robbie finally started seeing what Cobra Kai was doing to him. He finally realized, like, oh, I'm the asshole by being part of Cobra Kai. I need to get out of this. And, you know, Kenny wasn't ready to listen to him at the time, and then by the end of it, it looked kind of like he's like, dude, let's not. I don't want to talk about this right now. Let's handle this later. But you seemed more open to finally, you know, discussing things with Robbie. But yeah, I mean, hell, he could go back to being an asshole. Who knows? Like I said, people have switched sides so many times in the story. It's hard to keep up.
And that's the other thing too, is, you know, you see Cobra Kai buying up all these other, you know, smaller dojos and everything. Like, I almost think that this core group, you know, that between, you know, Miyagi Fang and, you know, the immediate, you know, Valley, you know, Cobra Kai, like those 8 or 10 people I would see venturing to Miyagi Fang. But what about all of these other dojos?
Yeah, just because, you know, Silvers is gone. Hell, like, Kreese could they'd be like, all right, you were in jail wrongly accused, so even though you did some illegal shit to get out of jail, we're just going to give you time served and let you go. But does he show back up like, I'm still the owner of Cobra Kai, and and we've got this entrance to this tournament, so I'm gonna jump right back into my Cobra Kai role. One thing we did not talk about, and we'll wrap this up here in a second, Johnny's day job when he tried to become an Uber driver was fucking hilarious. After they all close their dojos because of the bet, Johnny tries to get a day job since he's got a kid on the way and just becomes the worst Uber and Uber Eats delivery guy.
I don't know. I just love their take on.
Do you have any Billy Idol? Billy Idol? Hell yeah!
It's like, yeah, that was really pretty awesome. Dude, technology is not your forte. You don't need to be on apps, trying to navigate and shit.
No. Or does he start his own escape room? He's got the construction skills. He did a pretty good job of setting up that
any
fake,
of these
escape
places
room.
that are current escape rooms. If they don't have a fucking Cobra Kai themed escape room, they've missed a major marketing opportunity, especially if you're in and around Atlanta.
I kind of want to play the Young Guns escape room now. See if anybody has a Western themed. So what do you think of this BX3 here? I want some whiskey to go with it. I mean, this may be a new going into the rotation.
If somebody offered me a CAO Brazilian, I'd be like, thanks, but no thanks. If somebody offered me this again, I'd be like, hell yeah. Every perception I've had or, Brazilian cigar I've smoked up to this point has been a meh experience. This has made me think maybe there's something more to this that I need to explore in my smoking endeavors. This is one of those awesome cigars that I didn't know anything about prior to smoking it.
Yeah, it's just something new in the humidor. I'm like, hey, we haven't tried this one yet.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff we end up smoking blind on the show. If something new comes out, I'm like, no, I'm not going to have this. I'm going to save this to smoke. So I get a blind review when we, or a unbiased reaction when we smoke these. But yeah, this one may make it into the regular rotation.
I would say if you're a fan of MX2 and this has the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it doesn't have a ton of
the
strength,
sweet
but a shitload of flavor.
But all of the familiarities and everything of Nicaraguan and Honduran cigars that I enjoy, and
even a little Mexican to go with our trip to Mexico in the episode.
But I gotta say, I was not that excited to smoke this cigar today because I'm like, I don't care for the CAO Brazilian, and those two cigars couldn't be more different. And that makes me want to think that, dude, there's probably a lot of other Brazilian cigars out there.
There might be a little more flavorful, I think it's that mix. It's not just straight, just that one Brazilian Mata Fina, but those other Brazilian tobaccos in the blend. It's a ton of flavor.
This is one of those cigars that if we're at Dragon Con and I know I'm going to be smoking 5 cigars a day, in between my powerhouses, I'm smoking one of these.
Yes, you could smoke a couple of these and not burn yourself out and still be like, this is strong enough that it's not going to overpower my whiskey because, not Dragon Con without a flask. Oh, see how it pairs with apple pie. But that's all we got for you this week, and we'll be right back. And you've been watching the Cigar Nerds podcast. Check us out on cigarnerdpodcast.com. We're on the ESO Network at esonetwork.com. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Cigar Nerd Pod. Remember, smoke them as you got them. Like, comment, and subscribe.